Hello and welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony Pica. This podcast is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step on. I hope that you are having a great January the 14th. It is Thursday. It's great to be coming back to you. I want to talk to you today about a method of getting business, a marketing method that I've been starting to use more and more here in the beginning of 2021. And I want to talk to you about it and how you can utilize it as well. All right, let's do it. This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica. All right, it is good to be back. It's definitely been a little bit. It's been a fast second since the last time we've done a podcast, but I'm happy to be back. And, I want to talk to you about a method, a marketing method that I've started using again. I've used it in the past, but I've started using a lot more now in 2021 and seeing some really great results from it. And I want to talk to you about it here. And that is pairing email marketing with cold calling. Now, the thing is I love, the idea of email marketing in the sense that, it is direct to the customer type of marketing. And if we do work with a customer and get their okay to put us on their email list in general, we have now a direct link to customers that would specifically buy a voiceover from us. It's not dependent upon a platform to drive people to our site or our gigs. And I love that idea. The challenge with email marketing, right, that you run into is a variety of challenges. And that is, finding the actual email address that you need to. Even if you did work and you found random email addresses, we're not even sure if those email addresses are getting to the right person or, if they're even being seen, or even if the email addresses we find, if that company actually uses voice talent. You know what I mean? We don't know a lot when we're doing cold email. So, one way to go about that is to just go hog wild and get as many email addresses as humanly possible, throw them all in this bucket, you know what I mean, and have a little hole in the bottom, and the ones that actually use voice talent and so forth, will pop out there on the bottom, and the rest of them are just a necessary evil to getting to those few. And that is definitely a funnel approach, which has been, a style of marketing for a while now, and many people use it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I think that it can rack your brain because the amount of emails and the amount of addresses and the amount that you have to do, right, is an awful lot. Because, if you think about, the sites that we're on and how much people view our stuff before we get an order, it's pretty insane. So, we got to think about how many emails you'd actually have to send out. I think it would be just a ludicrous amount. So, to me, I kind of stepped back and said, okay, well, how can I create, a list of email addresses from people that I can vet in the sense of making sure that they are legitimate email addresses, 1, 2, they're companies that actually use voice talent, and 3, the email address is actually to the person who is making the decisions of working with the voice talent or picking the voice talent. And I think that criteria, if you move forward with it, there's a variety of different ways that you can go about doing it, right? You can go to sites like LinkedIn, do searching, trying to find creative directors, trying to find, doing research about a company and seeing who does what and video production companies, et cetera. And clearly you can do all of that and, you can have some limited success with that, but it does take a little bit what takes a lot longer to really work on that, because again, you're kind of shooting in the dark though still, because you're not quite sure, if you found the right person. So I was like, the best thing to do is go straight to the source, right? And I think that's where cold calling comes in. And I think that it's if you've never done it before, it can be daunting at first, because we all remember when we were little, although it's funny, I don't get a lot anymore. And I think there was some laws passed back when, but I don't get a lot of phone calls anymore. Well, that's not true. I think get a lot of robocalls now, right? So you get a lot of robocalls now instead of real people calling. But I think that the reality is I remember back when I was younger, my grandfather would just tear people apart when they'd call the house, when I was like at my grandparents for vacation, and he would just go nuts on them, about people calling. We've all seen that, and we all don't want to be pushy to people, and we know how we don't like it too. So I think cold calling kind of brings up all of these like shivers. Oh no, not that. I don't want to do that. Or, what if I call someone and they curse at me or they yell at me, or, it's just not worth it. I don't need that kind of junk, right? And so cold calling has definitely gone down, especially with how much we are on social media and how much we can communicate through social media. But I do think that in light of everything that's going on, and I don't talk, I don't talk about, or talk is the wrong word. I don't know. Well, we don't know now who is on social media and who is not. Right? We don't know how much the communication channels are open for some people, as are open for other people, et cetera. So I think now more than ever is the time to make sure that we are able to reach out directly to people, all right, who are running businesses that we could possibly work at. And I can't think of anything better or anything more straight to the source than us physically talking to someone for real. Okay, it really is the best thing. And I again, what I was saying before is that with social media, we've gotten to that place where it's so easy to find people, talk to them through social platforms, that a lot of phone calling and things like that have just kind of gone to the wayside, especially, like I said, with all the robocalls. But there's no doubt in my mind that talking on the phone with people can still be the best way to reach exactly the person that you're looking for. So here's what we do, and I've used this method. I've teaching people this method. It works out great, and I kind of want to talk to you about it as well. And it's very simple. Okay, all of the people, whether it's websites on the internet, even people on LinkedIn, right? All these different places, businesses. The positive thing is we're working with businesses, meaning that first and foremost, remember, you're going to be calling a person working at a business, not a person at their home. So, and even if they are at their home, you know what I mean? It's for business purposes. So I've never, in all the calls I've made, I've never had someone be angry with me. I've had a few people say, hey, we don't work with voice talent, but I've never, nicely, but I've never had anyone be upset with me for calling or angry. In fact, I've had wonderful conversations with people. And I think that's a misconception that we have, because, we've got this idea that we're calling people at their home maybe or something, and we're going to bother them or interrupt them. And that's just not true. Okay. People are at business, trying to grow their business. So it's expected that there's going to be business related things happening at business, right? So, but the big reason I love this is because, when you go to a website looking for an email address, or, how way to contact a company to see, if they're looking for voice talent, or you go on LinkedIn, or you go on Twitter, or you go on Instagram and you search for businesses and you find business accounts. Okay. The thing is that most businesses want you to call them. All right. They want you to call them or email them, but they want you to call them too. So they have their business phone number. And it's a great way to actually meet all those three criteria I laid out earlier. All right. Out to satisfy them and to get straight to the source. So instead of throwing a bunch of people into a bucket, a bunch of businesses, and then just have a few come out at the bottom, we throw a lot fewer people into the bucket and have more people come out on the bottom. And we do that by, picking up a phone, calling the company with the phone number they gave and simply asking to speak with the person who works with voice talent for their business. Right? So right off the bat, that question does a couple of things. It automatically, we determine whether or not their company is going to work with voice talent. And also we are getting to the exact person we're trying to reach, the exact person whose email we want to get. Now, again, that can go a bunch of different ways. It could be the person on the phone says, yeah, actually, that's me. That's great. Well, now, if you know it's the person you need to talk to, you say, great. Well, hey, listen, my name's Anthony. I'm a voice actor, and I was wondering if you guys are accepting demos. I got this particular script from Bill DeWeese, and I think we talked about this before, but I really wanted to dive more into this topic. Now that I'm talking about it, I think I might have talked about this before on another podcast. But the thing is that this method, all right, of getting to that person, right, and the simple way of saying it is so unobtrusive that it really pulls down barriers. It's easy to say it, and it's also easy to execute. And it doesn't make you sound like you're some, a weirdo calling and say, hey, do you need a voice talent? Hire me. It's not what we're doing. So basically they give you your phone number, you get their name, ask for their name. Do you know what I mean? Or, hey, who can I address this to? The email address. And, from there, you now have an email address that you stick into your follow-up file where you follow up every month with just an email saying, hey, remember me? I'm here. If you ever need a voiceover, let me know. Here's a couple new samples I did this month. All right. For some voiceover clients. It's a great way to keep on the front mind of people that are making the decisions for voice talent. So that's a great way to do it. Now, other things that could happen, right? It could go to voicemail. A great thing to do with voicemail, right, is to leave your name, leave your telephone number. Okay, the likelihood that they would call you back is very slim, but the likelihood that you have an email address, right, also from that phone number is great. So what you do is then you email them and you mention in there and say, hey, this is I just called and left a message, all right, and I'm wanted to reach out through email to see if you guys were looking for voice actors, right? Do you see what I mean? So you can tailor it that way. Now I want to talk about one other thing that happens, if they pick up and, there's no one that they say, we don't accept voice or we're not working with voice talent, that's fine, right? You say, no, thank you so much. Now you know that you don't need to email them, right? You found out they don't work with voice talent. You don't need to do anymore. Or, right, they'll say something like, oh, we use in-studio people here. And I'd be like, fine, okay, thank you so much, all right? Or the other thing that would happen, and this just happened to me 2 days ago, where I called someone and they're like, oh, we actually hire all of our voice talent from Fiverr. I was like, that's great. I'm a top-rated seller on Fiverr. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. Send me your link to your gig. I was like, great. So I sent them an email to a link to my gig. Do you know what I mean? So and they could say same thing about voices.com or Upwork or whatever. And that's why it pays to be on all of these different places as well, as we've talked about. But that's a really cool way to, get in front of people, vet your email addresses. Now, you've probably noticed that this method takes up a lot of time. Right? It takes up a lot of time. So you're not going to, when I say a lot of time, you're not going to be able to leverage an automatic email finder. All right. You would have to make the phone calls. Now, can you hire other people to make phone calls like a sales force? Absolutely. Businesses do it all the time. But that becomes a little bit more difficult, right? Because, we have to hire someone who at least has that ability. And then, we want to make sure they're doing what we tell them to do. So we need to come up with scripts and a system. And then you got to make sure who you hire, if it's not local, or a company. I mean, there's probably companies out there too who do phone calls for you. I don't know about that, but all I know is that even with us just doing them, even if you did 5 or 10 a day and you build up that email list over time, you're going to have thousands of emails of people who are, actively needing voice talent. And the more that you follow up with them, meaning every month or every 6 weeks, you're following up, you start to become more and more on the front of their mind. Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, we need a voice talent. Hey, remember that person, who's that person that emails us? Do Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a way for you to really, really get an asset for your business also. All right. That's another thing too, is to get an asset for your business. Now I want to talk to you briefly about this, like, what do you put in the email? Because I think this is super important. The more that we can personalize an email, the better. And the more that we can make it look not like it's a robo email, and that we can sign it as ourselves, the better. So I like to do the subject line. All right, I like to do the subject line. We want to keep it under 30 characters. And the subject line needs to be something simple like voiceover demo for, and then the name of the person that you contacted. Okay. I love doing this method because, voiceover demo for, and I say their name. So if it's like John, voiceover demo for John. All right. That's the subject line. And then I go ahead and, in the opening of the email itself, all right, the first thing I say is John. So I say the name again, John. Now you only want to say the name 2 times. You don't need to say John. You don't need to say the name anymore. You send it the subject line, and then you set it in the opening line of your email. All right, I say John. This is Anthony. We just spoke on the phone. Thank you so much for talking with me. Here is a couple of links to voiceover samples or voiceovers that I've done. And then I like to put 2 links, to YouTube videos, or you could put links, to videos that you have uploaded on your website or whatever. And then from there, I also like to send a rate card. Right. I like to send a rate card with my rates on it. And I say, also, I've attached my rate card just in case you need it. And thank you so much. Sincerely, Anthony. And I type out my name. Okay. Now below, my signature also has, like, my automated signature has my name, the company name, my email address, my telephone number, et cetera, et cetera. But, I've personalized the email like it's actually from a person, because it is. And also I've mentioned that we spoke on the phone. I've mentioned their name a couple of times. You don't want to mention it too many times because then it seems weird. You know what I mean? John, this is what do you think about this, John? John, tell me your feeling. John, I'd like to work with you. It's after a while it becomes odd. Do you know what I mean? So just a couple of times max, but it makes a big, big impression. Okay, a big impression. And I think that understanding how to write the copy, okay, is super, 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 super important. I think it just makes a big deal. So from there, we've created our email, we created a subject line, we send it. I think the key to email marketing as well, and phone call is the follow-ups. Right? I think the follow-ups is super, super important, because following up really is where the gold is with email. Most people don't follow up. Okay. I think that's a big deal. So a lot of people, I was looking at this chart, and I think it was like the percentage of people that reply on, the email as you work up the chain, right? From like the first, second, third, fourth, fifth email. I mean, around the third, fourth, fifth, sixth email, seventh email, eighth email, ninth, 10th email, you still have around the 8th email, you still have over 10% of the people responding. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, you have 10% more replies, after 8 emails. I mean, follow-up emails. I mean, that's insane. Right? That's absolutely insane. I mean, it really lends credence to, and this is from Mailshake, by the way, that information. You know what I mean? I think the idea that we just send something once and hope that someone can remember us over a period of time is just kind of silly. We've got to continue to follow up with people. Okay? I really do think that's important. And I think they have some cool numbers. They're like 92% of salespeople give up after 4 no's, but 80% of prospects say no 4 times before they say yes. That's an interesting thing. If you think about that, right? Another thing is research shows that 35 to 50% of sales go to the vendor that responds first. That's interesting. Okay. But what does that tell you? That means 35 to 50% of sales. So what about the rest of the sales? Okay. Also, here's another piece of data. You have a 21% chance of getting a reply to your second email if the first goes unanswered. So again, right, we're talking about following up now and how important it is to continue to follow up. All right. I think it's crazy. That we don't follow up more. And it's easy not to, right? Because we do this work, we get the stuff, we send it out, and then we just want to be done with it. But the follow-up is key. All right? Now, when you follow up with someone and they don't answer, if it's a complete cold email, see what we're doing with the phone calling is trying to mitigate this whole entire other process. Right. And now, like I'm saying, because I'm getting this data from Mailshake is a cold emailing and an automated service. Right. So it kind of goes on automation as opposed to you doing it all yourself. But I like the idea of automating it after I've already reached out on the phone, vetted the email address, made sure that it's a real person who is dealing with voiceover so that I can send my follow-ups every month or whatever and not be worried about them, not getting to the right person, right? So listen, I hope that this has been helpful for you. I'd love for you to really dive in and you might say, well, what do I follow up with? And I think, it's one of those things where, you for me, I follow up with just, hey, it's, John, hey, what's going on? It's Anthony. We spoke a month ago, we spoke 2 months ago, or sent you an email a month ago. Just wanted to let you know that if you need a voiceover, I'm here for you. And here's a couple more samples of my work that I did this month. Have a good one. Sincerely, Anthony. Do you know what I mean? Like it's short to the point. You're just keeping up with them. Now, some people take different approaches. Like some people follow up with funny, like informational things. Some people follow up with newsletters. Some people follow up with all kinds of different stuff. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? So you can do whatever, you can get creative. And there's actually businesses out there, I think, that will do follow-ups for you as well. So, there's a bunch of different things that you can do. But the key here is that you get a follow-up going and you vet these email addresses up front, right? The other way is that you automate you get email addresses, either you purchase them, you scrape them, you do, you go yourself and just get tons of email addresses on your own and throw them into the pot. That's fine. But I think the phone calling method really helps you out a lot. And hopefully this podcast has been helpful for you today. If you get a chance, as always, please feel free to write a review over on iTunes or Spotify and wherever you are. And also check out our Facebook group and all that jazz. And if you're looking to join Fiverr Elite this year, we'd love to have you. There'll be a link below, and you can also check out aviosjourney.com, which is a great website. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening. You have a wonderful, 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 wonderful January 14th. I will talk to you soon. All right, peace.